As a New Yorker, I was spending more time on the road in the city. I'm a opera singer by trade. I know you can't tell by the voice right now. And the so I was on the road all the time, mainly in Europe, singing everywhere. So I was in the city for half of the time. So I didn't discover really New York City until I would say after 9/11 or so. And it's been a revelation to me. It's the city that I love, and I consider myself a New Yorker now. We have great things in, and there's a version online that's called timeout.com. And they have an article that they put up yesterday. If you can get out of the hotel bar, you're going to see so much more of New York by just sitting in a small bar somewhere close to your real New Yorkers, and they're going to tell you their personal secret about the city. And that's a great way also to familiarize yourself with the neighborhood and the people in the neighborhood. Number three, look both ways when crossing a one-way street. This is true. A lot of times, doesn't matter to them. And now they are most of them have that little electric engine on it, motor. They go for them. So be very careful. You look both sides of the street. Master the art of packing Yorkers. Now that's a no-brainer for tourists. You go for the day, so you bring what you need. They suggest in there, it's really worth it. And because all the events in your life won't take place in a small geographic area, that's true. As you talk at night, so you bring the things that you think you're gonna need throughout the day. Carry cash. That one I don't do myself. I don't carry on me. It just became that way over time. It's not something that I consciously do because everything is plastic. It's so easy. It's all on your phone. You just tap your phone and that's it. But they suggest that you carry cash, street meat. Most of them don't accept credit cards. So having some cash sometimes will give you like great meal. Now that's the thing. As New Yorkers, we're going to do it. We're never going to. I'm not going to eat from the truck. I mean, sometimes they have just fantastic food. If you go on the Avenue of the America, Sixth Avenue, close to 50th Street, there is several trucks that are there. It's mainly, it became our new that part. It became really our new financial district. So at lunchtime, you're going to have those long lines in front of some of those trucks. Or if you go downtown, financial district, just across from Zuccotti Park, you have another plaza, and all around Zuccotti Park, you have lots of food trucks. And it's just amazing in a normal setting, a COVID-free setting, the lines that you're going to see there, and most of them don't accept credit cards. So bring some cash. Find the best bagel shop, pizza place, and bodega near both your home and your work. These things will sustain you when nothing else does. Plus, you'll be expected to know these things when anyone visits you. And that's true. As a New Yorker, I don't know if you notice, but they always, ask you, where's the best bagel place? Where's the best, pizza place? So just have, a couple that you can share with people. For tourists, well, look around. Don't ask, the concierge. Sometimes the concierge will get like, a dollar or two here and there in order to promote a specific business. But go around and go check. And if it's just a hole in the wall, try it because sometimes they have just the most incredible food there. Number seven, know your history. Yes, I love that one. New York is not just about the hot new thing, it's also about the cool old things. There's so much history in this city. It goes beyond the restaurants, the clubs, the cultural scene. I mean, if you just stay downtown, now let's say south of Wall Street, which is a very small area, there's so much history around that area. All the financial district, the stock exchange, the Bull, the Fearless Girl, the Federal Hall. It's all located there. We have several tours that are located in that general area, and some of those tours are 2-3 hours long. And believe you me, it's not enough. There's so much history. One of our tours starts in front of the stock exchange, and within an hour, we're going to move about 100 feet, if that, because there's so much to talk about. Where was I? Find number 8, find the underdog parks. Yeah, there's not only Central Park, there's not only Bryant Park, there's many, many small parks. I used to live in Washington Heights, close to Fort Tryon Park. Such a wonderful park to visit, to have a picnic. Just next door, they have the Cloister, which is another place that you must go to, and it's part of the museum circuit in New York City. It's just an amazing place and a very, very interesting neighborhood to visit. Number 9. This is where, yes. Know which neighborhood names are real and which you should never, ever say. Now, if there's any New Yorkers, please tell me if you agree with this. I can deal, with Soho, Tribeca, Dumbo, it's all accepted. But Bococa, Soha, Spaha, I mean, really? It's no. I don't think so. I think we have enough acronyms within. Just stop it at what we have right now. Always tip your barista, and I would say your friendly tour guide as well. Let's talk a little bit about how to tip. So they say here for the barista, it makes up a big deal, a big part of the worker's wage in New York City in the coffee shops. And that's true for many, many, many other jobs in New York City. Your appreciation, monetary appreciation of our job counts for a good part of our remuneration, our money, our fees, basically. And it's not that we're going to judge you if you don't tip, but tipping is a nice way to say to your guide, thank you for a good time. And it doesn't have to be too much. I mean, usually, the rule of thumb is still the same thing, like 15 to 20% is usually the rule in New York City, in taxis, in restaurants, in anywhere you go that you need to tip. But as it comes naturally to tip your waiter, to tip your barista, to tip your cab driver, a lot of people don't think of tipping your tour guide. And that's a very, very important part. They will appreciate it greatly. And it's just a nice way to say thank you for a good time. Number 11, master the art of jaywalking. Yes, you need to master it. What they say is part of New York performance arts, part vital life skills for anyone who wanting to be late, not wanting to be late for everything. It's just something to do here. We obviously, when we give a tour, we don't jaywalk because we know we can cross the street, but maybe the 20 other people behind won't make it. So we tend to not do it. If you do it, Not that I encourage it, but if you do it, it's perfectly okay. Yes, it's illegal, but it's okay. It's tolerated. Um, be very, very safe. Cars will not stop for you. You have to look both ways, like I said earlier, and be sure that it's safe for you to get on the other side without rushing, and that is clear, and that's all there is to it. So no problem. Now, in the 90s, then Mayor, uh, gosh, I lost his name. That's going to come back to me. It shouldn't be so hard. Mayor, oh my God, I can't believe it. I just forgot his name. He decided to try to curb the jaywalking situation in New York City, which really was a little out of hand. And guess what? It didn't go down well. People protest, people, there was like those opinion, in the newspaper and the radio. So he had to backtrack. But in order to save face, if you go on 6th Avenue, you're going to see those barriers on both sides of the street going north and south, which doesn't allow you to jaywalk anywhere. You have to cross at the intersection, and that's the legacy of that period. But nowhere else you can see that in New York City. Number 12, eat all the things. New York City has to offer so much food-wise. So many restaurants, so many different, cultural foods, so many different things that you can eat. So if you are coming here, don't stick to your diet. Go and taste new things, so you can actually discover maybe something new that you would like to look when you go back home. See if you can, repeat the experience over there. It's a great way. New York City is a microcosm of all the cultures. All the cultures are here. There's nobody, it's a majority. And I think James just joined us. Can you unmute your microphone, James?
There we go.
How are you?
I was on a call yesterday with this thing, and all of a sudden it made me re-download it and everything, like weird. It kept saying it was like something was going on with it. Let me just see. Can you see me here? Am I good?
See you very, very well.
I try to do it this way because that way we're not facing the window with the sun blasted in here, and I'm using my iPad instead of my old laptop, which I think is getting up there in years.
And just that, I had a brain fart a little earlier. I couldn't remember the name of Mayor Giuliani. And now it just came back to me.
Right.
I know this is the age, right? This is where we are, and this is part of being locked down.
This is what happens when you're locked in your house for 54 straight days, and we can't go anywhere.
Yeah, I think we're hitting day 60 today.
You may be, yeah. The one thing I've gotten out of this whole thing is I've rediscovered fried Spam. I never thought it would come to this, but I have now gotten into fried Spam and eggs. It's awesome. I don't know how good it is for your cholesterol, but it's like the best thing in the world.
That doesn't matter.
It's really scary. My mother's like 90 years old. So we're watching, she had some show on and some commercial comes on and they're frying the Spam. And she just looked at me and she goes, "That looks really good." So I went to the supermarket, I bought it and I fried it. I was like, holy smokes, this is really good. It's really good.
Now, do you know the history of Spam?
It's American pate.
Yeah. But I think that was made for the GIs.
Yes.
So that thing can, it will, that and Twinkies. Oh, I'll tell you a story about Twinkies.
All right, go ahead.
I was telling people earlier that by trade I'm an opera singer, and I was doing an opera years ago, a creation, brand new opera about Harvey Milk, who
Okay.
was, from Long Island and became one of the city councilors in San Francisco and got gunned
Shot.
down by
Yeah.
Dan White, who was, homophobic. Anyway, there's a scene in the opera where Dan White, he is. I think we need a little background on thing. Dan White got off the hook, right, because he had
Right.
what they call the Twinkie Defense.
Oh,
Which,
really?
remember that, the Twinkie Defense, meaning he said that
My
he
glasses.
ate so much
Right.
junk food that he impaired his judgment, right? So that's how he got up. And he ate a lot of junk food. So in that opera scene, he is in his lazy boy, watching
Right.
TV and eating Twinkies. Now, that production started in Texas. And I was on the second wave when they took that same production in San Francisco a year later, or a year and a half later. So they brought us like for rehearsal, blah, blah, blah. And the guy that played Dan White, which I don't recall his name, again, brain fart. During the rehearsal, they brought out the lazy boy, he sat in it, and he's just, feeling on the side, and he feels something, and he gets it out. It was one of the Twinkies that they used during the production, a year and a half before in San Antonio, I believe. No, in Houston.
Right.
And still fresh.
Oh yeah. I think I don't know about Twinkies. I do know they'll last a long time, but I know with Spam, I think it has like the expiration date is like 4040 or something on it. It's like 2,000 years or some. I think King Tut, they found Spam in his, it's like, and it was still, you could still eat it, it was like.
So James, while you were away or trying to come to get in,
I was very frustrated. I was like, wait a minute, I just did this. Why is it not working?
I'm doing.
I even misplaced my glasses. I can't even see anything. Oh, you got
this is my dog.
Nice.
Chapo, no. Chapo, no.
Oh, let me see if I can find my glasses so I can actually see something. Go ahead, I'm listening.
James, so I was doing a little list that I found on Time Out New York.
Yes.
And it's called The 20 Rules of Living in New York City.
Okay.
And I'm down to, I think, number 12. I don't know if you want to comment on any of them. Number 1 is when you find a great apartment, jump on it. Do you agree?
Right. You never move. You never. In fact, I know people who've gotten married just because they didn't want to. They married somebody to stay, or they got married just so they could have an apartment. It was easier to do that than to get an apartment. So that, I totally agree with that. That's a truth. That's a truth. And once you're out, you're out. You'll never get back in again. So
exactly. Number 2 is have a go-to bar.
Yeah,
I
would say so. Yeah, it in the old days, it was a lot easier to get that bartender that if you gave him nice tips, you'd get like the one price. We used to call it the preferred pricing, where I used to go to this John Lafitte up by the Plaza Hotel, even when I worked in finance, right? So I go all the way up there, and it was kind of like it was like a French restaurant. The food was decent, not spectacular, but decent. But they had a really cool bar there, and they used to be like Sean Connery would go there. It was like a really interesting crowd all the time.
Wow.
And not a to be seen crowd. It was like people went there because they knew nobody would bother them or just talk to them like normal people. And if you were nice to the bartender and the tips were of a certain size, you would always, your bill wouldn't change no matter how much you drank. It would just be always the same. And I used to have a friend we used to go, and he used to always go, he used to go to me, he goes, no matter how much we drink, the bill is always the same. That was like his line. He goes, "Don't worry, no matter how much we drink, the bill is always the same."
That's a nice, yeah. I was telling people, like, mainly for tourists, to get out of the hotel bar and find a hole in the wall somewhere, and that's the best way to learn about what's around.
Yes.
The
only issue is like, don't you notice in Midtown, even the hole in the walls are crazy expensive.
True.
So it's like there's a lot of, I just find, especially in Midtown, it's really like a lot of the bars, even the sports bars, are pretty much like tourist bars.
Yeah.
And they're just not you don't get those crazy characters like those nutty people who used to be like in the 70s and 80s. If you went into a bar and you actually could get anybody to talk to you, like a bartender, and you got your bartender, you would go wherever he was. He'd go, "Oh, I'm here tonight, and in 2 days I'll be at some other bar." You'd go to that bar because that guy, you knew you could get drinks, you knew you could get them fast, you might get a deal. And it was going to be easy, because if you wanted to like we used to go and try to pick up girls and stuff, and like if you knew the bartender, it was always really easy. Like it looked like, oh, everybody knows this guy, he must be normal. Little did they know, right? Right. Little did they know he's not just some guy with a suit on. Like look at this. Like he must be okay. The bartender knows him.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine that about 10 years ago used to work in a bar up in the Bronx, in the Italian part of the Bronx, which is still, a small part. And he says that bar it's like walking into the movie Bronx Tale.
Mm-hmm.
It was like everybody had like a nickname. It was, and they all had their story.
There's some restaurants in Greenwich Village where when I was doing some consulting for hotels, when I left Wall Street and I was doing this for a while, they would take reservations, and every once in a while they just tell you, "No reservations tonight. We don't want any tourists down here." Because that meant something was going on. Yeah, and it would be weird. Like you'd go by and I'd have couples go, "We went by that place that told us no reservation. There was nobody in it." I said, "Well, the people are probably in the back. They just don't want to." Like it was weird. And the guy used to tell me, the maitre d' would go, "Look, this is like a local place. You can send some people down here, but don't send too many. We don't want it to turn into like a tourist place." And it was sort of funny. And it was you never knew when you called.
Yeah. Number 3. Look both ways when crossing a one-way street. It comes naturally for all New Yorkers,
but I'm still the 70s, so I just go out there and put my hand up, and I'm go right across. I do the jaywalking. Speaking of Giuliani, like I lived right next to him, and before he was mayor, he lived in my building, and I was like the apartment right next to him. And I knew him for years during when he prosecuted the Pizza Connection and also the Michael Milken cases. And during the Pizza Connection, actually, we had to go out the back of the building. We weren't allowed to walk out the lobby because they thought we were going to have drive-by shootings and stuff like that. And when he stopped the jaywalking, because if you watch old 70s movies, like I had some friends and they're much younger than me, and I said, "Oh, you got to watch Shaft, the original one. Don't watch. You'll see the way the Port Authority, way Times Square really was." And so we're watching, and the girl looks at me and she goes, "Wow, he crosses the street the way you cross the street. He just walks right out there, and if anybody beeps, you just give him the finger, and that's it." Like,
yeah, I was telling people that in the 90s, when Giuliani tried to cut down on that jaywalking thing, we almost had a revolution in New York City.
Right. I remember,
but he didn't. People. Yeah, and he didn't want to lose. I mean, he needed to back down, but he didn't want to lose face. So what did he do? He put fences on both sides on 6th Avenue in the 50s around Rockefeller Center. And that's his legacy right there. Yep. Number 4, master the art of packing for the day. Well, as tour guides, we'll do that, but that's I don't think we should put that goes. Carry cash. So I was telling people I don't do that anymore, not by choice, but just everything is on the phone.
Right.
But one way that would be very, very convenient for tourists when they come to New York to carry cash is to take advantage of the street meat, the food trucks.
Right, yes.
Because most of them don't accept credit cards.
Yes.
And you have to have cash. And sometimes tourists stay away from those food courts because they think, I may get sick. but no, try it because you can be surprised.
Yes, a lot of them are really good. And in New York, you have gourmet ones as well. But there's some, I don't know if you're a big fan of them, but there's some like some of the food trucks have big followings like on Twitter and Instagram, and they let you know where they're going to be like before. So if you get on their mailing list, they text you or they email you and say, oh, we're going to be in this neighborhood on Tuesday. You know, there was a coffee truck that I used to go to. I don't know, it was called Mud or something like that. And sometimes they'd be all over. And if I was anywhere near and I got that text, I'd run to the truck to get this coffee that was like, it was like syrup. It was like hot syrup. It was so thick. It was like Turkish coffee, but in big sizes. Yeah. Like it was like a giant, like, and so and if you go up, speaking of 6th Avenue, up in the 50s, there's a whole bunch of gourmet ones up there.
Yeah, but that's what I was telling people. I said they have long lines.
Yes.
Because it's just amazing. Yes. Yeah, people should stay away from the obvious truck, not because it's not good, but you can get that food anyway. Hot dogs, fries, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But we have so much culinary, dishes from those trucks, and shouldn't be ignored. Number 6, find the best bagel shop, pizza place, and bodega near both your home and your work. So I would say from both your hotel and where you're going. They're saying here for New Yorkers, because when you have people visiting you, they're always going to ask you, where's the best pizza? What's the best this? What's the best that? So no, but people should definitely go and try to find by themselves those rare. You see me now?
Now I can see. I was like, where are my glasses? They're on my head. I couldn't figure out where I put them down. I was like, what am I doing? Now I can see it. I agree. I like to have, first of all, bagel places are a lot harder to find than they used to be.
Yeah.
And then at least real good ones. And the pizza places, I always have like a backup. Like I have, if you want really cheap, good pizza, I have a place for you. If you want really good pizza that you're willing to go to, I have another, you always have to have like a backup for everything.
And never buy a pie, buy a slice.
Well, yeah, unless you're like me and you're just like, I could take you to a place where a pie is like $8 and it's good.
Really?
Oh yeah. Two brothers right on 9th Avenue and 40th Street, right behind the Port Authority. Mind you, you have to fight off the homeless people, but I've had dates where we went to a black tie event and my date wanted to stop there before we went home at like 2:00 in the morning to get us a $1 slice. And we're in there all dressed up, and there's
they're
like
not still $1 today.
Oh yeah, it's
really.
It's still, they have regular is $1, and then they have pepperonis like $1.50 or $1.75 or something like that.
Oh my God, I haven't seen those prices in years.
But it's good because some of the other real cheapy ones are horrible. But this place, it's actually it's sometimes it's a little inconsistent. And what's funny
let's make it a plug for everybody. So where is it?
It's called Two Brothers.
Okay.
I know for sure they have 2 of them that I'm aware of. There's one on, because you got to know where your pizza places are, especially your cheap ones when you're in a rush. 9th Avenue and 40th Street behind the Port Authority. It's kind of a sketchy neighborhood.
Yes, it is.
It's not too bad. And then on 8th Avenue on, I think, 38th Street, it might be 37th.
Well, there's very close in location.
Yeah, and the one on 8th Avenue it's really packed. Like it takes a while to get your slice. You got to line up and they move you really fast. And they have all these guys, they play Mexican cowboy music. And they have these guys singing while they're making the pies, Mexican, like the real gaucho music, not salsa or like merengue or anything. No, real Mexican cowboy music. Like you got to go to Texas to hear it, and that's what they play. And it's all my girl left me, and it's just like old fashioned country.
Sounds like blues
Western,
to me.
But in Spanish, so it's got that, it's everything's got like an accordion sound and the whole deal, and it's cool. So it's kind of fun when you go in there. It kind of makes you giggle a little bit when you hear the music, and then you see these guys flipping the pies, and then they just like they throw it at you, and it's like you get the real treatment.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Now, are you still on?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Keep going.
looking at the other one. Oh, I like this one. Find the underdog parks. And, people come to New York City and they go to, Central Park, Bryant Park, if you're a little more, and if you're lucky to have a key, maybe Gramercy Park.
Right.
But there's so many other parks. I was telling people about Fort Tryon Park and the cloisters, and there's so much.
The cloisters is fantastic. It really, I think it's an underutilized.
Oh, absolutely.
It's worth the subway ride up there. It's
not that long on the A train. From Midtown to 20 minutes. It's fine.
I agree with you on that one. I would say to just add a little extra. Maybe they don't classify as parks, but there's some weird things like say you take the tram to Roosevelt Island, and when you go over on the tram,
if it works,
right? It's not windy. Don't go when it's windy, but if it works, right? If you go there, actually at night it's gorgeous because
it's beautiful.
The bridge, the Edward I. Koch Bridge or the 59th Street Bridge.
The 59th.
Right, is all lit up in that Victorian look. But that's kind of cool. Like that's more. I think that's interesting. Also, downtown we have a lot of cool cemeteries that are like almost park-like and like behind what is it, like at Trinity Church, and then also at what's the other one where we meet for the 9/11 tours, the St. Paul's, right? I had a mental block, right? There's my So St. Paul's has a nice, and it's very relaxing, even though it's small. It's really small. It's out of the way, and a lot of people don't realize that the idea of urban parks came from cemeteries.
Yeah.
So people used to go to Brooklyn and go to those big cemeteries out there and walk around with baby carriages on a Sunday. And the city planners got together and said, you know what, we can make one without the gravestones. So how cool that would be, right?
Number 9. Oh, maybe we'll have a little debate on this one.
Okay.
Know which neighborhood names are real and which you should never, ever say. So we know Soho, Tribeca, Dumbo. What do you feel about Bococa, Soha, and Spaha?
Oh, those are all BS. But you know what? Because when I first was in New York in the late 70s, I was in what I would call the East Village now. And then for a while, they were calling it NoHo, like north of Soho.
Yeah, but this one has picked up.
And it was funny. I never heard anybody call it the East Village. It was like St. Mark's Place area, which was kind of in those days meant it wasn't a nice place to live. And then, but it was funny because I saw a real estate thing from like 1977 or something.
Oh my God.
And they were calling it East Village in those days, but I don't ever remember hearing anybody say that it must have been so new, maybe only real estate people, because they like to me, Tribeca, I know they have the Tribeca Film Festival, but I'm old school, so when I go over there, I'm like, it's Chambers Street. Like I just don't like, it's like overpriced restaurants in a so-so area that's like I don't get it.
I can't say Clinton. I have to say Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
It's
right. Yes. Yep.
Master the art of jaywalking.
Oh.
Tell me about it.
Right. That's the you got to watch it.
That's an art.
Anybody who needs to learn how to do it, watch the movie Shaft. You even only have to watch the first 5 minutes if you don't want to watch it, because he walks right. He does it like twice right at the beginning of the movie, and he does it perfect. It's the middle of the 70s. Times Square is a mess. He just walks right out there in the traffic and like just cuts. We used to even do it when there was a lot of traffic. We used to zigzag between the cars really quick, because you never stood at a street corner because you might get robbed, shot, or run over. So you didn't stand still. And because anytime you stood still, I would say up till probably the early 90s, either something would happen. Somebody would try to pickpocket you. Somebody would try to rob you. They'd hit you up for money, or something would happen. So you never stood still on the street. You always were walking, moving all the time.
And a lot of times, like in normal times, let's say that it's starting to rain and all of a sudden there's no more cabs. Sometimes the cabs that is available is, the third lane in the middle of the street. So you just go there and you just
right. You just
right there.
Just be
he's not
aggressive.
allowed to. Yeah, he's not allowed to invite you in, but you can get in. So.
Right.
Eat all the things. That's true. This is where I was. Eat all the things because New York has so much to offer that if you come here, you stick to your diet, you're gonna miss so much. It's a microcosm of the world here. All the food you have, everything from Africa to Asia, and it's
that's the hardest thing about New York. That there's so many sort of micro neighborhoods with unique food, as well as sort of fusionish blends, like sort of like Indian food meets Chinese food, or some weird like combinations that come up because the neighborhoods are close together. And then as well as because you have all these people who just bring their home cooking and they turn it into a restaurant. But eating it just bring a lot of money with you because it can be. Also, the other thing is don't let it fool you. It could be in a bad neighborhood and the prices could still be really high, or it could be a really fancy place that's nowhere near as expensive as you think it's going to be. So that's another.
Here's another one. I'm sure we're going to have a little discussion about that to explain people what's the difference and know the difference between rudeness and the plain old New Yorkness.
Oh yeah.
The
rude people are all from the suburbs who come in the city and think they have to act a certain way because they're in the city. The real New Yorkers just know how to be.
New Yorkers are nice,
a little pushy, but
we just don't have time. We're nice, but we just don't have time. It's not.
You're very direct. It's because you need to be in New York.
They might not stop to tell you direction, but they may tell you as they're going away.
Right.
Yes. And
I had a group before I worked with us. I was testing out the idea whether I want to be a tour guide, and I was helping coordinate for a company that did a lot of tours for like school groups and things like that. And so one night my job was to take this group of kids who are from southern Georgia, like the deep South. And I had to walk them from their hotel to a Broadway show. I can't even remember which show they were going to see. And they were super polite. So everybody who bumped into them, we're in the middle of Times Square, and everybody who bumped into them, they were stopping and saying, "Oh, sorry, excuse me," like blah, blah, blah. And I stopped them all and I said, "Listen, this is New York. It's really crowded. Everyone knows they're going to get bumped into a little bit. You just say, 'Excuse me,' and keep moving. Don't stop and start." And they laughed like crazy. And I said, "Don't worry, don't do it when you go home, but in New York, it's okay."
I'm not going to have time to go through the rest of the list. Let me pick one here. Be an efficient line waiter, which means that when what we say in New York City is hurry up and wait. You're going to wait everywhere you're going to go, but when it's your turn, be ready.
Yes.
I hate people that go in the subway and when they are at the turnstile, they get their wallet out, their measure. No, it's like, get ready to go because people are waiting. It's just being mindful of other people. Same thing if you're waiting on a line to get to that Two Brother pizza place. Know what you want.
Yeah,
you can see the menu there. Know what you want.
You got to slap those $2 and bring small money. And you slap him right down on the counter real quick, and he'll grab him so fast you won't even see his hand move. It's like.
for people that don't know, they want an illustration of what we're talking about. Go find the episode of Seinfeld with the soup Nazi.
Yeah,
that's it. That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
You need to know what you do, and you just go because you're not alone. 20 people per square inch, so you have to move.
Exactly.
James, thank you so much for joining me
my
today.
Pleasure. You know what I wanted to do? Do we have 2 seconds? Because I wanted to ask you something to follow up on something that you said the last time we talked.
Oh, what did I say? What did I do?
Well, we were talking about groups and experiences you had as a tour guide.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, because you speak several languages, right? You speak French, just French and English. Okay. So what I was curious is, and I don't know if you noticed it, or is there a difference when you do a tour in French to French people, as opposed to that tour in English Is there like are their expectations different? Do they
Oh,
ask different
absolutely.
questions? Are they
Oh,
interested
absolutely.
in different things? That's what I wanted to ask you last time.
Yes, and that can be our next topic.
Okay.
Because
okay,
it's
that'll be
vastly
cool.
different, and this is a very good topic, because there's many different, and it's just to show people how we can talk about one topic and have vastly different approach to it, just to say the same thing basically. So, but that's all the time we got. So thank
All
you,
right,
James.
wonderful.
Thank you,
It was a
people,
pleasure.
for likewise to join
I'm
us.
glad I got on. I was like
Yeah.
getting worried.
Well,
I even
better late
changed
than
my
never, right?
background and everything.
So, guys, look at our Facebook page. We have several other live events with hosts that are way better than me. And just remember this: our guys are maybe not on the street, but we're still touring. So have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful day, James, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.